Some stories start with a bang, and this one, it starts with a blast. A blast so loud, so violent that it cracked the night sky over the Gulf of Mexico. April 20th, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon, an offshore drilling rig floating 41 miles off the Louisiana coast, was supposed to be just another cog in the machine, a deep sea operation backed by BP, manned by a crew of tough, tired men clocking long hours and high risks. But that night, it became something entirely different. At 9:45 p.m., methane gas surged through the drill pipe. No one saw it coming. No one had time to react. Seconds later, boom. A fireball ripped through the rig, steel twisted, flames exploded skyward, and men screamed. 11 workers were lost, incinerated, or hurled into the black water below. Some were never recovered, but one of the men who made it out, his name was Matt Jacobs. He was burned, he was battered, his ribs were broken, his lungs were filled with smoke. He clawed through smoke and soot, crawled to the edge of the rig, and when there was nothing but flames behind him, an ocean below, he jumped. He jumped 40 feet into the Gulf, into darkness. He was fished out. Hours later, he was cold, choking, half conscious, but he was alive. He was a miracle, and he was definitely a survivor. But in the years that followed, Matthew Jacobs got what survivors rarely do, and that's closure. He got justice for what happened to him, and that justice was in the form of a 7-figure settlement check. And with that money, he started over in a landlocked, low-key Camden, Arkansas. Population there was under 12,000. A town where the air is thick with pine, the gossip is even thicker, and people still say things like bless your heart with a smile and a grudge. Matthew bought a house there. He settled down. He focused on his teenage son, Jordan, who was the light of his life. And for a little while, it seemed like fate was finally going easy on him. But then he met Donna Herring, Camden's top real estate agent, small town royalty in heels and hairspray. And like any woman with a plan, she wasn't just selling Matt a house, she was selling him on a future. And that future was going to be her daughter, Alex Peterson, a pageant queen with big eyes and even bigger ambitions. And suddenly Matt was engaged, he was wearing a ring and surrounded by a new family that had their eyes and their hands all over his second chance. See, what Matt didn't know was that surviving Deepwater Horizon might have been easier than surviving Donna. Because within days of his tragic death, a will would appear, a miracle document giving Alex, Donna's daughter, everything and cutting Matt's own son down to scraps. And that, friends, is where things really start to fry. Welcome to Final Affairs. I'm your host, Patience Babajide McCormick, and this is the story of Southern Fried Lies. I first came across this story in a documentary series, and I was stunned, not just by the crime, but by how brazen, how cold, and how calculated it was. So let's take it from the top, not the day he died, but the moments that Matthew Jacobs' life began to take a turn for the second time. Matt Jacobs, he wasn't from Camden. He didn't grow up on these streets. He didn't graduate from Camden High. He didn't have a booth at their annual barbecue festival. But after surviving a literal explosion at sea, what he wanted was peace, as I'm sure you can appreciate. Camden offered that. It offered tree-lined streets, quiet Sundays, and neighbors who knew your story before you told it. And then told it again at the hair salon, and told it again at the church steps, and at the gas station by Tuesday. He bought a house. It was a nice one. He paid it in full with the money he got from the Deepwater incident. He settled into the town. He focused on his teenage son, Jordan. Jordan was 17 at the time. He was smart, grounded, and the kind of kid who made Matt really proud just by being himself. Matthew wasn't even 35 yet, but after everything he'd been through, he carried himself like a man twice his age. One who'd lived enough for 3 lives and was ready to just slow down. But fate, or something more conniving, had other plans. So now enter Donna Herring into the story. Camden's unofficial mayor, realtor of the year every year, always smiling, always selling, the kind of woman who called you sugar, who, while saying this, was mentally filing your tax bracket and exit strategy. When Matt hired her to help him find a home, she saw him as more than a buyer. She saw a golden goose, and she had just the nest in mind, and that was going to be her daughter, Alexandra Peterson, or as Donna called her, Alex. Alex was 19. She was sweet. She had a beautiful smile, long lashes, raised on pageants and praise. Donna didn't just introduce them. She actually curated this relationship. Matt went from clients to dinner guest, then boyfriend and fiance. Quick as sweet tea turned sour. But behind every Southern engagement photo is a group chat full of red flags. The age gap, the timing, the way Donna seemed to hover in every frame like a mother-in-law and a campaign manager rolled into one. Everyone noticed, but no one said a thing, at least not out loud, and certainly doesn't seem like anything was said to Matt. The engagement between Matt and Alex, of course, raised some eyebrows. So she was barely out of high school. She was still living at home, still asking for permission to borrow the car. Matt, on the other hand, he was a grown man with scars on his skin and 7 figures in the bank. He was a survivor. He had real estate. He had responsibility. And he had a teenage son who was not much younger than his new fiance. To Donna and her circle, it looked like a picture-perfect match. To everyone else, it looked more like a transaction than a love story. Because while Matt had one foot in the life of a settled man with Alex, he had mortgages and legal documents and school pickup lines. The other foot, it was still wondering. See, January 19th, 2015, Matt gets into his car late that evening, not to take Alex out, not to see her mother, but to visit someone entirely different. A different woman, a quiet girlfriend, a secret girlfriend, the kind of secret a small town keeps very loudly. So everyone knew. There were whispers at the diner, raised eyebrows in the salon, but no one dared bring it up to Donna. Matt had one woman on his ring finger and another on his mind, but he never made it to that house that night. Somewhere along the 2-lane stretch outside Camden, Matt's car veered off the road. There were no skid marks, there were no other cars, and there was no note. It was just a crumpled frame of a car. And inside it, a man who had survived everything life could throw at him until that night. Matthew Jacobs was pronounced dead on the scene, 34 years old, son, father, survivor, and now gone. And the only thing more haunting about how he died was what surfaced days later. Matt survived fire on the water only to die on dry land, a tragic twist of fate, or the first clue in a much darker story. So we're gonna fast forward and we're getting closer to the will. After the funeral, Matt's family did what every grieving family does after a sudden loss. They went looking. They went looking for answers, for instructions, for something, anything that would help them make sense of what came next. They found photos, they found keepsakes, they found Matt's old rig boots by the front door, but one thing was missing, and that was a will. There was no folder labeled estate plan, there was no binder of final wishes, there was not a single notarized page, which actually made sense. Matt was young, he was healthy, he was planning for tomorrow, not expecting to die on a back road that Tuesday night. His son Jordan, just 17, was supposed to be his heir, his legacy. But then, like a Southern ghost story told in broad daylight, a will appears out of nowhere. It was discovered by, of all people, Donna Herring. Yes, Donna, Alex's mother. In Matt's gun safe, in a sealed envelope initialed MJ, like a prop, like a script. Inside the will read like a dream. For Alex Peterson. Nearly everything went to her. Cash, cars, the house. The full $1.7 million estate minus a measly $50,000 for Matt's own son. A man survives Deepwater Horizon. He rebuilds his life for his child and leaves him crumbs. You feel that drop in your stomach? That's not grief. That's your gut calling BS. But legally, a will is a will. If it's signed, dated, and witnessed, it stands. And Donna came fully armed, the will witnessed, by her sister and her brother-in-law, 2 of her closest confidants, who it just so happens were all too willing to play their part. Now, here's the kicker. All of this happened after Matt died. The will was created using a website, formswift.com, an online template site, the same place landlords release agreements. Donna didn't just find the will, she wrote it. She printed it, then planted it in Matt's gun safe and orchestrated this grand reveal like a church potluck drama. Because nothing says legitimate estate planning like a DIY death document and a mother-in-law with a motive. The safe, the envelope, the witnesses, every detail staged. And for a moment, it actually worked. The court took it at face value, and Alex Peterson, she became the heiress to a fortune. But don't worry, the feds were already watching. And next time we talk about what happens when a fake will meets a real FBI agent. Camden's small. It's really small. It's the kind of town where your business becomes the community's business before you finish telling it. Where nothing stays quiet. Not an affair, not a fortune, and definitely not a family feud. So when Donna Herring and her daughter Alex start showing up in Matt's cars, sleeping in Matt's house, spending Matt's money, folks, they don't just whisper, they notice. They even talk, and they definitely remember. Meanwhile, Jordan, Matt's teenage son, is still reeling from the loss. He's trying to grieve, trying to graduate, and the woman who was supposed to become his stepmother is out here collecting assets like it's clearance season at the courthouse. Matthew's family eventually agrees to settle. Jordan gets a piece of the estate, enough to keep the lawyers at bay, but not the piece. That goes to Donna and Alex for now, because Matt's family, they don't buy it. The will doesn't sit right. The signatures, the timing, the sudden appearance of the original, it all stinks like something that was cooked too fast and served too cold. And the FBI, they're listening, they're watching, they're waiting. And just when Donna thinks the ink has dried and the money's in the bank, this tale, it's just heating up. Because behind the safe, the signatures, and the Southern charm is a paper trail Donna forgot to clean up. And the next knock on the door, it won't be the mailman, it'll be federal. In estate planning, we always say clarity is kindness. Spell it out, put it in writing, sign it. Not for yourself, but for the people you leave behind. Because when you don't, you leave a vacuum. And into that silence, that quiet, unfinished space where intention should have lived, walked a woman with motive, means, and a printer. Donna Herring didn't just take advantage of grief. She engineered it. She typed up a lie, had it witnessed by her own kin, and dropped it into a safe like a bombshell full of secrets. And for a while, she almost got away with it. But next time, we open up the FBI's case file. Donna's picture-perfect plan starts to fray, and Alex, she hides a key piece of evidence in a safe. I know, the irony isn't lost in me either. You've been listening to Final Affairs. I'm your host, Patience Babajide McCormick. This is where the dead don't lie, but the living often do. Stick around for episode 2, which I'm titling False Witnesses and Federal Charges. We're just getting started.